Hello, it's Soul, and this is a list of the most important features in Legion that we know of so far. Beta hasn't even started yet, so we don't know what else is coming, but I thought it'd be a good idea to keep focus on the really groundbreaking stuff, and not just the features that are a repackage of what we already know. So let's get started with Wardrobe, and here's the crash course. Any qualified transmoggable gear in your inventory will be saved, just like mounts and pets and toys. Any gear that you got or could have gotten from a finished quest will be added too. And along with that, you're going to get access to tabards and shirts and enchants as well. An inventory like this might look familiar to some folks. The wardrobe is going to take inventories that look like this and wipe out like 75% of the space. The only gear people may hold on to at this point would be offset gear, time walking sets, legendary weapons, and whatever you still felt like keeping. Players have a good reason to farm old content now, so they can start collecting early. There's a crap ton of gear that WoW's accumulated over 11 some years, so people have their work cut out for them. In the future, the demand for rare cosmetic gear is probably going to spike. Players who stop caring about transmog because their inventories were too full will no longer feel restricted, and they can pick up the collection habit again. Thanks to this cosmetic industry will have room to grow exponentially, altering future reward systems, and dare I say, this could even reach out to optional paid-for content. Say what you want about paid content and a subscription MMO, but by pandering to that part of the community, the payoff would be a positive for the health of the game. Next we have PvP changes. The PvP changes will make up the biggest change in WoW's history since the PvP system was first introduced. And here's the quick rundown. PvP gear, gone. And by that I mean gear that will let you kill players more efficiently. A special PvP level will define progression, and a talent system will determine your player power in PvP. Gladiator rewards will also be passed out a little bit differently. So I won't get technical, but basically if a max level player in Dungeon Blues were to take on someone in heroic raiding gear, stat-wise they'll both be on pretty even ground. The difference then is going to lie on skill, and in whatever PvP talent each player has unlocked. Rewards like titles, cosmetic unlocks, and mounts will still be around, and you'll earn them as you reach a max PvP level, prestige back to 1 for a reward, and then repeat the process. I don't know if it's a majority or not, but a lot of players don't like the dependence of gear for PvP. It didn't make sense that hardcore PvPers were rewarded with even more powerful gear that was most effective in World PvP, where many players may have no PvP gear at all. The new talent system gives PvPers a more reasonable difference in power in that they have additional PvP-centric skills. Meanwhile, undergeared players also don't have to worry about max gladiator or mythic raiders one-shotting them. The point is everyone will have a fighting chance. Currently, the majority of the top PvP players in WoW are Alliance. Mercenary mode was a nice band-aid to curb queue issues, but the change to season rewards will give PvPers a reason to come back to the Horde. Instead of rewarding the top percentage of players overall, the top players from each faction will be rewarded. This should cause a natural shift of players who want to stay competitive and stick with a less crowded faction. Now, this won't totally solve the problem of what I'll call bandwagoners who want to fight for the winning side, but this is a way to nurture things in a better direction. Now, challenge mode dungeons. Before Legion, dungeons served as the gateway to higher end PvE content, namely raiding. Because of that, dungeons have always had a maximum benefit to them, and when the benefit was exhausted, players moved on to raiding to obtain better rewards. Challenge modes started as a niche that rewarded only cosmetic gear, but are now going to be elevated into top-end content for players who fit this lifestyle. I have to admit, this barely made the list if not for one thing. Running a dungeon with varying penalties and surprises sounds like loads of fun, but it's still a dungeon. What makes these new challenge modes game-changing will depend on just how powerful gear can become at the highest difficulty. If the best gear is very close or even equal to mythic gear, this is indeed game-changing. If it's not though, players will only use dungeons to their maximum benefit just as before. And now, world scaling. This is new tech that's going to function in all of the Broken Isles except for Suramar, which is max level only, and it's going to scale enemies, dungeons, and quest rewards to the player's level. It'll work dynamically for each player, so a level 109 mage and a 102 mage in the same party will hit and get hit for roughly the same amount. And this will even kick in the same way out in the world if you happen to stumble upon someone fighting an enemy. In one way you can think that, this isn't that big of a deal. It'll improve the leveling experience, sure, but that only lasts until you hit the level cap. However, this could be the start of what can change the way we experience all of WoW if Blizzard were to see that this tech is successful and want to incorporate this into other systems. This is what stuff like time walking and item level scaling have been building up to. Imagine a WoW where players could level from 1 to 100 only in Azeroth, or make a new character, walk straight to Northrend at level 1 and start leveling there. It'd be really weird, and I can see lots of limitations for certain areas like raids where a level 5 tank probably doesn't have the toolkit to be effective. And the scaling doesn't mention anything about item level, so in later tiers we'll still retain that feeling of being powerful in the world. Finally, we have Adventure Mode. This is something that would naturally come up when you have a system like world scaling. Adventure Mode will act like a massive quest map that will use the entirety of the Broken Isles for randomly generated stuff to do at endgame. It's really similar to Diablo 3's system, but apart from daily-like quests, this will include familiar activities like world bosses, quests related to our artifacts, and professions as well. Activities pop up dynamically, they don't just pop up on a daily reset, so it's worth checking out the map throughout the day. Based on this, there's a lot of potential to expand on this system and make the world feel really active. For instance, Flight. It's already been said that Flight won't be available at the start of Legion, and there's no clear indication on when it will. I'm still not an alpha, and I'm really upset about it. So I don't know if there are areas only accessible with Flight, but if there were, I can see a case where Flight will also unlock another layer of quests in Adventure Mode. It'd be a pretty cool way to reward players who are in Flight with not just the access, but the added gameplay that came with it. Now imagine if world scaling and Adventure Mode was applied to the entire game. This could make for some really interesting things to happen. It'd be cool to suddenly see like Galleon pop up on the adventure map, and max level players can fight along lobbies who happen to be in the area. And that's it. That's the list. There's some pretty obvious things that I didn't mention, and well, in my opinion, it's because they don't matter. I'll make another video about those features and my reasons why. But let me know what you think, guys. Do you agree with the list? Should other things have been added? Just let me know in a comment below. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Soul, and I'll see you in another video. Stay breezy.